My name is Flora, and at 27 years old, I have established myself as an architect, diligently serving at a well-regarded local firm. On my days off, I unwind by delving into the pages of various books. This tranquil existence starkly contrasts my tumultuous childhood, filled with upheavals and a lack of familial warmth. The light during those dark times was my aunt, a figure radiating cheerfulness and boundless love, despite being only 13 years my senior. Today, I'm eager to share some cherished memories of her that continue to warm my heart. Growing up, I felt the cold demeanor of my strict parents from an early age. Their expectations were sky high, and their disapproval was vocal. I remember one incident vividly from first grade. "It's embarrassing not to score perfectly on a test at this level," they chided, and all I could muster was a meek, "I'm sorry." My mother, visibly disappointed, would lament, "Why did such a child come from us?" Their stern gazes were a constant reminder of my perceived inadequacies, embedding a sense of failure deep within me. I was born into a family of medical professionals in a luxurious neighborhood of a provincial city. My father was a doctor, my mother a nurse, and from the onset, they funneled me into private education with the expectation that I would follow in their footsteps. Despite their hopes and the expectations of those around us, my academic performance was only average, and I struggled to excel at home. I was often left to study alone for hours, even after attending cram schools, all in a bid to earn their approval. Meanwhile, my younger sister Penny, only a year my junior, was naturally brilliant, excelling even in kindergarten. She was always steps ahead of me academically, which only drew more of our parents' attention and resources towards her, leaving me to abandon cram school after the first grade. Feeling neglected and overshadowed, I doubled down on my solitary studies. Yet my parents only perceived me as academically weak and reclusive. Despite this, the bond between Penny and me remained strong. She adored me, which was a small comfort, but the shadow of feeling inferior never quite left me. As time progressed, the disparity in treatment grew more pronounced. On holidays, while Penny was taken to theaters and museums to enrich her education, I was left behind with harsh words about wasting resources on the unappreciative. These moments alone at home, listening to the laughter of other families, only deepened my feelings of inadequacy and rejection. However, a turning point came when my parents planned a 3-day trip with Penny to a distant museum and couldn't leave me alone at home for that long. It was during these moments of solitude that I truly began to realize the extent of my situation and started contemplating the meaning of familial love and self-worth, reflecting on how these early experiences shaped the person I am today, striving for peace and seeking solace in the memories of my aunt's unconditional love. One chilly morning, I was abruptly woken and taken to a modest apartment in a neighboring town. My father, visibly irritated, rang the doorbell, and soon a disheveled blonde woman answered it. It was Melina, my father's much younger sister and my aunt. After a terse exchange, my father, carrying a large bag, headed back to the car, casting no glance my way as he drove off. Melina beckoned me inside with a nod of her head. My interactions with Melina had been sparse, and our relationship was distant, exacerbated by my father's stern warnings to steer clear of her. He often disparaged her, labeling her as lower class and pointing out her incomplete middle school education. Initially, Melina's appearance, a tousled blonde mane and a plain gray sweatshirt, did little to dispel my apprehensions. Yet, as I sat uncomfortably on a thin cushion in her living room, a delicious aroma wafted through the air, momentarily easing my unease. Melina emerged, a tray in hand, featuring clam chowder and scones. "Didn't have breakfast, did you?" she inquired, her voice kind and cautious. I tasted the chowder and was instantly taken by its rich flavor. "Delicious, right? Clam chowder is the best for breakfast," she chuckled, her demeanor warm and inviting. Over the next 5 days, Melina cared for me with an unexpected kindness. The meals she prepared, stews and risotto, were delightful, and her genuine concern was evident as she offered seconds with a smile. She even took me to the zoo, pointing out the animals with genuine excitement. "Look at that gorilla. Isn't it cool?" she exclaimed. Those moments at the zoo marked the beginning of a new, joyful chapter in my relationship with Melina. From then on, whenever my family went on trips without me, I was left in Melina's care. She welcomed me with open arms each time, and gradually, my trust in her grew. She often said, "I always wanted a little sister like you," treating me with immense kindness. Despite this, my parents continued to disparage her, citing her troubled school days and her struggle to make ends meet in a low-paying job. "If you don't want to end up like her, don't slack off in your studies," my father would half-jokingly warn when he was inebriated. Though I had grown up believing my father's words were absolute, I found it increasingly difficult to reconcile his harsh judgment of Melina with the person I knew her to be, a talented cook and a genuinely caring figure. I couldn't understand why she was spoken of so negatively. As the disparity in how my parents treated my sister and me grew, life became increasingly challenging. By the time I reached 3rd grade, I was provided only the bare essentials of clothing and food, barely avoiding the attention of Child Protective Services. When I tried to study at home, I was often rebuked and sent out, leading me to spend my days in parks or libraries. Yet every weekend, Melina welcomed me warmly, the only one who seemed truly concerned about my well-being. One day, she made a surprising offer. "Flora, would you like to live with me?" she asked softly, her hand comforting on my head. "If you feel life at home is hard, think of me as a parent." Stunned by her proposal, I felt a mix of relief and apprehension, pondering the possibility of escaping to a nurturing home where I was wanted and valued. "We'll eat together every day, sleep side by side, and even go to the zoo sometimes," she said, making it sound like a dream come true. The idea seemed almost too good to be real, and a part of me hesitated, overwhelmed by its beauty. Then, with a hint of self-mockery, Melina added, "But you might not want a silly parent like me," and chuckled quickly. I objected, "That's not true." The prospect of living with Melina was undeniably attractive, yet doubts snagged at me. Melina was still single, and I feared that taking me in might become a burden for her. Moreover, I was concerned about how my parents would react. Would they see it as a betrayal? Tentatively, I asked her, "Melina, is it really possible for me to live with you?" She responded with a reassuring thumbs up and a warm smile, saying, "It's okay." That moment felt irreplaceable, and a deep desire to become family with Melina welled up inside me. I made up my mind to move forward. Melina later raised the idea with my parents, but they strongly opposed it. It seemed their objections were rooted not in concern for me, but in fear of how it would look to others. They were worried about explaining to their friends and colleagues why I was no longer living at home. After extensive discussions, a compromise was reached. I would move in with Melina as a lodger, no formal adoption would take place. Once the decision was finalized, things progressed quickly. Packing only my essentials and my school bag, I prepared to leave the home I knew. On my last day, my parents coldly reminded me, "Don't neglect your studies. If you become a nuisance and trouble us, we'll send you to an institution right away." Only my sister seemed genuinely upset about my departure, tearfully saying goodbye. She whispered, "Big sister, I love you." While I still had feelings for my family, seeing my sister's tears deepened my resolve. Arriving at Melina's, her bright smile and joyful exclamation, "Yay, I'm so happy you've come to stay with me," solidified my decision. At that moment, I vowed to build a family with Melina, one filled with pride and mutual respect. Starting anew with Melina brought its own set of challenges. Financial support from my parents was minimal, and I had to switch from a private to a public school. Despite these hurdles, every day was a celebration of small victories. When I struggled with homework, Melina would sit down with me, diligently sifting through textbooks to solve problems together. Whenever I scored 95% on a test, she would beam with pride, saying, 95 points is amazing. You're something, Flora." With Melina's encouragement, I became more confident and sociable, making friends and enjoying school without the pressure of cram sessions. Surprisingly, my grades improved effortlessly, and I maintained top marks. The chronic stomach pains and fatigue that had plagued me disappeared, a clear sign that the stress from my parents' stringent expectations had been affecting me deeply. By 6th grade, I had grown significantly in confidence and emotional strength, distancing myself from my parents' restrictive views. As my sister grew older, she began sneaking out to visit me at Melina's place, maintaining her academic excellence and making our parents proud while also showing where her true loyalties lay. Together, we celebrated a new kind of family, one built on support, love, and understanding, far away from the critical eyes of our parents. 10 years swiftly passed since I began living with Melina, and during that time, I blossomed into an independent young adult. I enrolled in the architecture department of a prestigious national university, drawn not only by my passion for design but also by a generous grant-based scholarship that allowed me financial independence. I no longer needed financial help from my parents, nor did I impose any financial burden on Melina. On the day I received my university acceptance letter, Melina was overwhelmed with happiness. She cried tears of joy and prepared my favorite dish, seafood paella, to celebrate. That evening, as we enjoyed the meal, Melina opened up about her tumultuous past. She revealed that she was born from her mother's affair, and although her father initially accepted her as his own, societal pressures eventually made him withdraw his affection. Despite her early longing for parental love, she entered a rebellious phase and became estranged from her parents, who were also my paternal grandparents. "Flora, you've turned out so well," Melina said with pride, her eyes glistening with emotion. "You didn't follow the troubled paths I did, and you've grown so much." "It's all because you were there, Melina," I replied, deeply moved. "Without you, I don't know where I would be." The thought of my life without Melina's intervention made me shiver. A year into my university life, on a spring day, an unexpected confrontation occurred at my apartment. My parents arrived, visibly upset and angry. "Did you two deceive Penny?" they accused, catching me off guard. "What happened to Penny? Which medical school is she going to?" I asked, trying to understand the reason behind their anger, which only intensified their fury. "Don't joke. You must know about it. Penny has gone off to do her own thing," my father said, too agitated to continue. "Ah, it seems Penny has enrolled in culinary school," I calmly responded, guessing the cause of their dismay. "Did you put her up to this? You've given her these bad ideas," they continued to accuse. In reality, while Penny had let our parents believe she was preparing for medical school, she had secretly pursued her passion and was accepted into a nutrition program starting her studies that April. "You think you're in a low place, so you're jealous of your sister becoming a doctor?" "How wicked," my mother spat angrily. "That's not true. Penny chose her path on her own," I defended her, withholding that Penny wasn't aiming to be a nutritionist as her ultimate goal, which I kept to myself. My parents had never truly understood Penny or her desires. As my mother stomped her foot in anger, blaming me for Penny's career choice, Penny and Melina suddenly appeared behind me. Surprised to see Penny, my parents' anger turned towards Melina. "Melina, is this your doing? Did you lead not only Flora but also Penny down the wrong path?" Despite the harsh accusations, the presence of Melina and Penny by my side gave me strength. Together, we faced our parents' misconceptions and criticisms, united by our choices and the support we found in each other. The paths we chose may have been unconventional to our parents, but they were true to ourselves, crafted with care, passion, and the freedom that Melina had given us both. "I think that's none of your business," I asserted firmly, stepping in front of Melina to shield her from my father's aggressive posture. Penny, ever supportive, moved forward to intervene. "Don't blame Melina. It was because I showed an interest in cooking that she offered her kitchen to me. Indeed, it was during her visits to Melina's house that Penny discovered her passion for cooking. As she assisted in the kitchen, her love for culinary arts grew. Even though our parents focused solely on her academic achievements, they failed to notice the signs. Even when she returned home with a scent of sesame oil lingering on her clothes, considering culinary school, Penny faced the obstacle of needing a scholarship to leave home. Thus, she opted for nutrition instead. Like me, she secured a grant-based scholarship, which empowered her to finally confront our parents about her ambitions to become a chef. Frustration etched across his face, my father's lips quivered with anger. "Penny, I'll accept you taking a gap year, withdraw from the university immediately, and enroll in a preparatory school," he demanded. "I absolutely refuse," Penny countered firmly, standing her ground against our father's demands. Attempting a softer approach, my mother tried to reason with her. Penny, going into a profession like nutrition or cooking, which anyone can do, isn't worthy of your talents. Everyone is expecting you to become a doctor. In that case, Mom, can you cook? What if anyone can do it? Do you know how to perfectly fry popcorn shrimp or make a vinaigrette? Penny challenged. It was clear. My mother lacked culinary skills. She had always relied on deli foods and delivered meals. Caught off guard and at a loss for words, my mother faltered. Penny continued, her tone icy. It's ironic to live relying on others to cook for you and then look down on chefs. Instead of forcing me to become a doctor, it would be better to give my place to someone who truly desires to be one. It would contribute more to helping others. That's just an excuse, Mom. Dad, don't you know? Actually, my sister is far more talented than I am, Penny added. Her words caused our parents to gasp in disbelief. There's no way that's true. Do you even know which university my sister is attending? She prodded, confused. Our parents exchanged glances. They faltered, revealing their ignorance. You don't know. You also don't know how excellent the architecture department is at the university she attends. She was accepted into a national university's architecture program because she is academically excellent. Penny defended, her voice resolute. While it might be an exaggeration to say I am more talented, it's a fact that I became a top student thanks to Molina's support. It's true, Mom and Dad. You would know how well I did in school because you never attended any of my parent-teacher conferences. I chimed in. With that, our parents lost their momentum and fell silent. Their faces reflected defeat. I looked at them with a cold gaze, my words cutting deep. The success in raising me wasn't due to you but thanks to Molina. Penny, now resigned, laughed softly, signaling her readiness to move on. Don't worry. I've arranged for my tuition myself and I'm prepared to live on my own. I've already moved my things. You didn't notice, did you? The color drained from our parents' faces, their expressions shifting from anger to shock. Molina watched the scene unfold, her patience worn thin. You both were only ever interested in grades. It's a shame that your wonderful children weren't understood for who they are. Feeling humiliated, our parents groaned in discomfort. Being upstaged by Molina, whom they had once looked down upon, must have been the ultimate humiliation. That was the stark reality we faced. My parents, unable to muster any defense, stood speechless as Penny, with the support of a friend, packed bags and moved to another state, a good 4-hour drive away. I harbored no illusions that this upheaval would change my parents' attitudes or their approach towards Penny and me. By the time I was in my second year at university, their old habits resurfaced. Unexpectedly, my parents called me up insisting on a meeting. A sense of foreboding gripped me, but I resolved that no matter their persuasion, I would not be swayed to return home. We agreed to meet at a restaurant they frequented. I brought Molina along, whose presence visibly displeased them. As soon as we were seated, they unfolded numerous university pamphlets from their bags, all from schools known for their medical programs. What's this? I asked, already dreading the answer. We're giving you a chance to retry for medical school. Isn't that a good deal? We're offering you a chance to redeem yourself, show that you can surpass your sister, because of whom you've been looked down upon, they explained, as if presenting a generous offer. Their misunderstanding was almost comical. I decided to indulge in the absurdity of the situation for a moment. Really? I'm so happy. Maybe I can actually get in here. To think that you both care so much about me. I really should be thankful, I responded, my tone dripping with sarcasm. My father nodded, apparently pleased with himself, while my mother's expression brightened, both misreading my feigned enthusiasm. Unable to contain myself any longer, I burst out laughing. Huh? What's wrong? I said. I just find it hilarious seeing Dad so pleased to make such a proposal. Seriously, it's simply impossible. After all, I have my own life. The moment they realized I was mocking them, their faces flushed with anger. Quick to anger, they were slow to understand. They failed to grasp the true intellectual and emotional dimensions beyond their narrow vision. Penny has never looked down on me. It's you who have always looked down on us, I pointed out. Well, anyway, I have no intention of trying for medical school again, I stated with clear resolve, causing a vein to throb on my father's forehead. Why can't you and Penny understand the nobility of being a doctor? Is this also Melina's fault? My father retorted, once again misplacing his anger towards Melina. Melina, unfazed, responded with a warm smile. Brother, you're so stubborn. What did you say? Flora and Penny aren't denying the work of doctors. They just have passions elsewhere, in professions like architecture, nutrition, and cooking, which, according to you, anyone can supposedly do. The conversation highlighted a chasm of misunderstanding. My parents clung to their ideals of prestige and traditional success, unable to comprehend that success could take many forms, including those driven by genuine passion and fulfillment, not just societal approval or traditional prestige. Even if they are jobs anyone can do, that's fine, came a sudden voice. Startled, my father turned around to see 3 robust, healthy-looking men standing nearby. Who are you? He asked, perplexed. Perfect timing. You just insulted an architect and his son, one of them said. They looked surprised, their eyes wide with curiosity. At that moment, Melina stood up and gently pulled the young man next to her closer with her arm. This is my husband. It's an honor to meet you, brother-in-law. I am Hudson, he introduced himself with a smile, his white teeth shining brightly. Melina had started dating Mr. Hudson 6 years ago, and they had officially gotten married when I turned 22. Despite my reassurances, they were affectionate enough to wait to marry until I was an adult. As a result, I became close to Melina's in-laws and developed an interest in architecture. Just as Melina announced her marriage, her husband spoke with a meaningful tone, catching my parents off guard and leaving them speechless. Then, Melina's father-in-law stepped forward, a warm smile gracing his features. Nice to meet you, Dr. Luke. I am Hudson, and I run an architectural business in this area. I understand Flora has heard about my work from Melina and has taken an interest. You are truly an insightful, wonderful person. I am planning to retire from the field soon, and I would like Flora to join our company as an architect and learn the ropes to carry on in the future. How dare you decide such a thing on your own? My parents protested, raising their voices. Hudson widened his eyes and stared at them. Even if you call it presumptuous, the fact that you've shown no interest in Flora so far is undeniable. Trying to manipulate Flora after her sister has left the house is quite reprehensible. How rude. How much do you think outsiders understand about us? My father retorted, his voice filled with indignation. Indeed, that's true, but then again, human relationships are mostly about interactions with others, Hudson responded calmly, looking around. Other customers at the restaurant also started to glance over, their expressions cool and disapproving. Raising one's voice inevitably attracts attention. Everyone is disappointed. We never thought Dr. Luke, whom we've respected for so long, could look down on others like this, someone murmured within earshot. That's not true, my father stammered, his voice trembling. Just as his favorite dish was served, the chef of the restaurant approached, placing the plate in front of him. Dr. Luke, I'm sorry. It must be difficult for you to eat food prepared by us ordinary workers. You no longer need to endure it. Unfortunately, this marks the end of our relationship with you. I will communicate the same to other restaurants. Wait. That's not what I meant, my father hardly replied. We feel it is not appropriate for people who can be replaced to use your clinic, so we will no longer visit. I will inform my acquaintances of this as well, another customer added, making the situation even more tense. All eyes in the restaurant were now on my parents, who, unable to withstand the pressure and the collective gaze, left the restaurant in a hurry, abandoning their food and pamphlets. Since that incident, my parents no longer pressured me to pursue a medical degree, finally accepting that my path and Penny's were our own to choose and that our passions and careers were valid and respected no less than any traditional profession they had once idealized. Over time, my parents reached out to me, their tone desperate. "We want to clear up everyone's misunderstandings," they pleaded. The incident at the restaurant had struck a severe blow to their clinic, which had been an established healthcare provider for many years, serving a large number of elderly patients who also frequented the long-standing local restaurant. Unfortunately, word of mouth among the local elderly spread quickly, and a damaging reputation soon enveloped the hospital. It was said to be a place where doctors disregarded their patients. This rumor coincided with the opening of a new hospital near the station, which boasted not only skilled but also personable doctors. As a result, not a single patient chose to return to my father's clinic. In a very short period, the clinic's management began to suffer. My father, stressed and overwhelmed, unfortunately lashed out at the staff, causing a significant number of nurses and administrative workers to resign. This exodus further fueled rumors of ethical problems at the hospital, leading to a continuous decline in both staff and patients. Operating the hospital soon became a financial burden. My parents believed that if I could help clear up the misunderstandings, perhaps patience and public favor might return. However, once a bad reputation takes root, it's incredibly challenging to reverse. In truth, much of the reputation was well-founded, although some stories were exaggerated. For instance, there was a rumor about my father causing a scene in the restaurant, criticizing an incompetent chef and demanding an apology, an incident that never actually occurred, yet it was so vividly discussed I could almost picture it. Eventually, the financial and reputational strain became too much. The family-run hospital had to close, and amidst the blaming voices of relatives and the crushing weight of their embarrassment, my parents sold our family home. They chose to start anew in a quieter, more secluded life in the countryside. 6 years have since passed, and during this time, I have successfully built my career as an architect. I work for the architectural firm run by Molina's in-laws. Although I still have much to learn to match the prowess of top designers in the field, I am diligently working each day to achieve my dreams. One of these dreams is to design a diner operated by Penny and Molina. Additionally, Penny and I hope to open this place once a week to local children. Much like Molina saved us, we want to give back to the community's children. This goal has become a deep lifelong vow for us sisters, supported by Molina and my colleagues who share the dream. Together, we are committed to creating a place that extends beyond just food, offering a space for community learning and growth. Each day of this journey brings fulfillment and a sense of purpose, making every moment of the struggle worth it.